Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, peopleofdistinction.org for more info, or you can always email me directly at benji@alcoleenterprises.com. And on the line with us today, we have Maria Fernandez Snitzer. We're going to be discussing her amazing book, Storms. Available for purchase through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or directly through the publishing company, authorreputationpress.com. And if you haven't figured it out already, Maria was brought to our network, People of Distinction, by that same publishing company, ARP. So if you or anybody you know have a book that they'd like moved, well, give yourself the best gift you could possibly give and contact Author Reputation Press to move it for you. You can find out more information on them and their wonderful team through authorreputationpress.com. So without further ado, let's bring her here on the line with us. Maria, first and foremost, welcome to People of Distinction, and thank you very much for being a guest. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing fine, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about Storms. I'm excited about it, and, I'm hoping other people will be too. And I was listening to your opening, and, Storms is about communication and secrets, family secrets, family tasks that were never discussed, and that can impact lives later down the road, and it can impact them very negatively too. So yes, it's all about communication, honesty, and it's a good book. It's a good read.
There you have it. Well, Maria, we're looking forward to it. Okay, the pleasure is all ours. We're really looking forward to embarking upon the journey, not only with the words of wisdom that you're going to be able to relay to us today, but also when we head on over to Amazon page, Barnes & Noble, or other available bookstores to pick up Storms. I think what you're embarking upon here is profound because, listen, we know, or at least we verbally say that communication is important. And given the circumstances, some of us are better at communicating than others, right? So I love that we have this creative example of this drama, and we are able to see through the characters that you've established where things were derailed through lack of communication and how things were repaired through proper communication. And I think that emphasis can really help and spill into our day-to-day lives. So I'm loving that. I'm looking forward to it. But before we go into the book, Maria, I want to learn a little bit more about you. So let's start there. Tell our listening audience a little bit more about yourself and your background.
Well, I grew up in a little fishing town in southeast Louisiana, which is actually the setting of the novel. And I was always influenced by my father, who was a historian, who took me along with him for some of his research trips. And one of the things he loved to do was tape his interviews, and we would sit in little 2-room houses sometimes and just have the most delightful discussions, and he'd have his Memorex tape going, and I'd hear these stories that they were just so overwhelming to me because, we sometimes feel like the best stories are stories of spies and celebrities and incredible athletes, and those are good and entertaining, but my father's research taught me to look for the extraordinary in the ordinary. I don't know if that makes sense, but the most delightful stories. And he would talk about, ask them questions about dark times, maybe the Depression, maybe the war, maybe, what happened during the Spanish flu in the area, whatever, just dark times. And the conversation always went toward we would be laughing about things in the end after, so it's just real lives, real people. Everybody's life has a novel in it. And that's what I learned growing up where I did. I went on to, I got my doctorate in American history, where I loved studying history and American literature. And I think that has influenced my love for writing. So other than that, I might be an ordinary person, but trying to be extraordinary. There you go.
There you have it. Maria, thank you very much for that. And listen, we absolutely love it. Again, thank you for being a guest. And the anchor for today's interview is all about your fantastic book, Storms. So tell us a little bit more about your narrative.
Well, the narrative takes place when the news of a hurricane is getting around the community, and everyone is thrown into preparations. And my protagonist is a wife, a mother, a daughter, and lots of responsibilities in that sense, very typical of Bayou life. And so the question is always, do we stay? Do we evacuate? What do we do? Well, she's thrown into preparations, as I said. And in doing so, she has lots of reflections. She thinks about her childhood, what they did during her childhood she has memories of evacuations of the preparations. And then there are also flashbacks of characters' lives. And it really is a study of characters, which I love. I love to develop my characters. And so it takes this family through all of these very tense moments with this impending disaster at hand. And but it's not a book about the actual storm. It's not a book about the hurricane. You won't read about the hurricane. You read about the storms in their lives, the metaphorical storms that affect their lives. And without giving too much away about how it ends, I think it's something that every family can identify with. Not, of course, the actual situations that are in the book, but the metaphoric storms that you have to go through together and get out of together. So that's about the most I want to say about the narrative.
I want to cover inspiration next. Maria, what inspired you to write this narrative?
Well, again, I think growing up where I did, and I always loved reading, and again, my father's inspiration with delving into people's experiences. And that's really what this book is about. It's about the experiences of this family, past and present, and how their lives, their journey together, how they hit bumps in the road. They have questions. Oh, well, and my favorite thing is about the flashbacks and how these characters got to where they are in the book. That I found most interesting to create as well as read. But that I think I was most inspired in my life by my father's historical research and his methods.
People, again, we're here on the line with Maria Fernandez Snitzer. We're discussing her wonderful book, Storms, available for purchase through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or directly through the publishing company, authorreputationpress.com. Maria, next question that I'd love to get into, and really a curiosity for myself. what would you say was a highlight for you in writing the book? Or if not a highlight, something that surprised you that you weren't anticipating before you began on the journey?
Oh, I think completing it. I didn't think it would ever end because it was so interesting. It was my first full novel. I would write smaller things, shorter things, but it was my first attempt at a novel, and the surprising thing was how it all developed, because I didn't start with the completed story in mind from A to B, and it's fill in the middle. I first developed the characters, and then I gave them life, and then I let them evolve and go on the journey to the end of the novel. And it really, my characters took me to the ending of the story. And that was the most surprising thing for me, because I always envisioned an author sitting down, knowing exactly what the story would be like, how they would get from point A to point B. And it wasn't like that for me. I truly went on the journey with my characters. And it was so much fun. And like I said, just completing it. And that was my biggest pleasure, was in completing it and having my finished novel.
As we start to tie out of this fantastic interview, last couple of questions here. Now, this next one, I think it's safe to assume the answer to it, but you know what happens when you assume. So I'm not going to do that to you. I have you here on the line. I'm going to come right out and ask, who would you say is your intended audience, and what is the message that you're hoping that they take from your book?
Well, I definitely an adult audience. I think that I don't want to limit it to women, of course, because I've had, many of my male friends have enjoyed it quite a lot. But I think just an adult audience. And I think people who have had, like I said, similar storms in their life. Not exactly. I mean, so many things can cause storms in your life: illness, rejection, divorces. Everybody goes through these dark times in their lives, and how it. So in a way, people can relate to this family who is struggling with the secrets of their past, and I think that would describe my audience. Any adult who pick up the book. It's not a long book. Many of them, I've read that a lot of people liked it for a beach book, which I loved hearing, because that's one of my favorite things, is reading on the beach. Mm-hmm. But that to me would be my audience. And like I said, everybody has experienced these times in their lives and has been affected by them. Who goes through something? What family ever went through a dark time as such and come out the same? It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. You're always changed afterwards, and how you change is hopefully positive, but it's not always. Sometimes it's negatively changed, and that depends on, again, the communication, the honesty, the tolerance, the forgiveness, all of those things. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what Storms best communicates.
I love it. I love it. Listen, last question here, Maria. I love having this platform to be able to pay it forward, in a sense, to other artists out there listening in. Now, you're someone that has been through the process. You've written your own book, but you've also taken it a step further and gotten the book published. And anybody that's been through the process understands writing it is only half the battle, right? So I'd love to take this opportunity, Maria, for any new writers listening in right now. What are some words of wisdom that you could relate to them about the journey they're getting ready to embark upon?
I think the very first thing is to have confidence in what you've written, because it's tough to publish your book. And I'm not saying it's too tough. It's not something that can't be done or, it's risky or anything like that. But I think that to go through the process, you first have to have confidence in your writing. Then find a publisher who also has confidence. I mean, I found that in Arthur Reputation Press, and I'm not, this isn't an advertisement or anything, but I truly did. I found people who were helping me to do the business side of it. I'm not a business person at all. And for people who try to do it themselves, that is so hard. You need the professional guidance, the professional expertise, because I don't think I'm alone in saying that just because you can write a book, you can sell a book. That doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. So start with confidence in yourself, and then find someone who has confidence too, and just let them take it and roll with it. And it's fun. That is when it's fun. So that's my best advice. And the other thing is, don't, have confidence in your story. Because like I said, everybody's got a story. You could sit down and write your life in a novel form, and it would be interesting if it's written in an artistic way. Everybody's life is interesting, and so don't feel like your story isn't going to sell because it's only about maybe you, maybe your child, or whatever your story is. Like I said, I'm repeating myself, but it's so important. Have confidence in it.
You know what you have to do. If this interview hasn't moved you, pinch yourself. I don't know what's going on, okay? Amazon, Barnes & Noble, AuthorReputationPress.com are the places you have to go. Storms is the title you have to pick up. And Maria Fernandez Snitzer is the author you have to thank for bringing this fantastic narrative to your table. Head on over there, a wonderful book to add to your shelf, an even better gift to add to someone else's. So you know where to go to pick up your copies. Maria, this has been an absolute pleasure. Such an honor. I truly mean that. Thank you once again for being a guest on People of Distinction.
Thank you so much.